If you ask someone how spellcasting works in 5e, you'll get something along the lines of: you have a list of spells you can cast, and to cast one, you need to spend a spell slot of a level equal to or higher than the spell's level. Which is correct, usually. You do have cantrips and ritual spells which can be cast for free, but that's not what I want to talk about. Instead, what I want to present is an alternate resource for spellcasting, which exists in 5e but is rather underutilized. And no, it's not about point-based casting either, since that would be just me saying, hey, there's this official thing that could be interesting. No, the resource I'm talking about is already present in D&D, but only in things like feats or racial features. That resource being simply the casts of a spell. Magic Initiate lets you learn pretty much any first level spell, but only cast it once per long rest. Similarly, Tieflings can once per long rest cast Hellish Rebuke and Darkness. But what if we expanded that idea into a possible replacement for the system of spell slots? One where you learn a significant number of spells, but can only cast each of them once, giving you a lot of versatility at the cost of reliability. A jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none kind of approach, which is why I think this type of spellcasting would work great, thematically speaking at least, for bards and arcane trickster rogues, and maybe artificers. So, here are the tables for bards, artificers and arcane tricksters. You can also find them in the description. I designed them in a way that makes sure that at every level you have slightly more spells than you would have spell slots. The rules are that you know a specified number of spells for each level, either used as a static list for bards and arcane tricksters, or as the number of spells you can prepare for artificer. You can upcast spells by selecting a lower level spell in place of a higher leveled one. For example, when you reach the third level of Bard and get to learn second level spells, you could choose to learn Charm Person as a second level spell, making it so it always works as if cast with a second level spell slot. You can cast each spell you know or have prepared once without using a spell slot, and can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can still cast them if you have spell slots from another source. Now, to address a question that some of you might have, what about magical secrets? And on the same note, what about Artificer's subclass spells? Both being features which increase the number of spells known, but don't give you extra slots or anything of the sort. It's a bit of a tricky issue, and the best solution I was able to come up with is this. You get these extra spells, but they count towards your maximum, and the tables account for that. If you don't get any subclass spells, then you just ignore that and simply pick your spells going by the numbers in the table. The interesting thing about a system like that is that it makes you consider spells you would otherwise overlook completely, or prepare and basically never cast, because you have better things to spend your slots on. And just to state the obvious, if a feature asks you to expend a spell slot, for instance an artillerist artificer creating an eldritch cannon, you would expend a use of one of the spells of that level. And yes, you could use the arcane trickster table for eldritch knight, artificer's one for paladin and ranger if you just ignore the first level of it, and bard's one for all full casters except for warlock. I did not bother trying to make this compatible with warlock, because A, it doesn't really fit thematically, and B, warlock is already built around its own variant of spellcasting, one that is an opposite idea to this one, relying on a small number of powerful spell slots rather than a large number of not always reliable ones.